Hello there! It's your friendly neighborhood stargazer here to take you on another journey through this grand cosmos we call home. Today, we are going to be exploring some of the most awe-inspiring sights in the night sky star clusters. Imagine a cosmic dance floor, where hundreds, thousands, or even millions of stars twirl and waltz together, bound by the invisible hand of gravity. From our humble vantage point here on Earth, star clusters appear as dazzling patches of light scattered across the celestial tapestry. Some are visible to the naked eye, like the shimmering Pleiades, also known as the Seven Sisters. So, buckle up and get ready to explore the wonders of star clusters with me. Now, there are two main types of star clusters we'll be discussing: open clusters and globular clusters. Open clusters, as their name suggests, are relatively loose and irregular in shape. They're like the cosmic equivalent of a casual gathering of friends. Globular clusters, on the other hand, are much more densely packed and spherical in shape. Think of them as a cosmic dance party in full swing. These clusters can contain hundreds of thousands or even millions of stars, all crammed together in a relatively small space. So, grab your telescope or a pair of binoculars and let's embark on this celestial adventure together. Now let's travel down south to the constellation of Tucanae, the Tucanae. There, nestled among the stars, lies a celestial gem, 47 Tucanae, also known as NGC 104. This globular cluster is a sight to behold, folks, a true southern sky wonder. Visible to the naked eye as a fuzzy star, 47 Tucanae explodes into a dazzling ball of stars when viewed through a telescope. Located about 13,000 light-years away, 47 Tucanae is one of the brightest and most massive globular clusters in the Milky Way. It's so bright, in fact, that it's visible to the naked eye from dark sky locations. Now, 47 Tucanae is a hotbed of astronomical research. Astronomers have been studying this cluster for decades, trying to unravel the mysteries of stellar evolution. Now let's mosey on over to the constellation of Cancer the Crab. Don't let the name fool you, folks, because this constellation holds a celestial treasure, M44, better known as the Beehive Cluster. This open cluster, located about 577 light-years away, is scattered across a patch of sky about 3 times the size of the full moon. To the naked eye, it appears as a faint, fuzzy glow, but through binoculars or a telescope, it bursts into a hive of activity, with dozens of twinkling stars coming into focus. The Beehive Cluster has been known since ancient times. It's a relatively young cluster, only about 600 million years old, which makes it a fascinating laboratory for studying stellar evolution. Now let's spread our wings and fly over to the constellation of Scorpius, the Scorpion. In fact, it holds a celestial butterfly, the beautiful star cluster M6, also known as the Butterfly Cluster. This open cluster, located about 1,600 light-years away, gets its name from its distinctive shape. When seen through binoculars or a telescope, the cluster's stars seem to trace out the delicate wings of a butterfly in flight. M6 is relatively young, as star clusters go, only about 100 million years old. Now, M6 is best observed during the summer months from the northern hemisphere. Look for it near the tail of Scorpius, just north of the bright star Shaula. Now, let's journey to the constellation of Taurus, the Bull. There, we'll find a star cluster so close to home, it feels like family, the Hyades. This cluster, located a mere 153 light-years away, is one of the nearest open clusters to our own solar system. The Hyades is a loose collection of stars, spanning about 10 degrees of the sky. That's about the width of your fist held at arm's length. To the naked eye, the brightest stars in the Hyades form a V-shape, marking the bull's head in the constellation Taurus. The Hyades cluster is thought to be related to another famous star cluster, the Pleiades. The Hyades is home to a variety of stars, from bright blue giants to faint red dwarfs. Now let's head down south again, folks, this time to the constellation of Crux, the Southern Cross. Nestled near this iconic constellation lies a star cluster that's as dazzling as its name suggests, the Jewel Box Cluster, also known as NGC 4755. This open cluster, located about 6,440 light-years away, is a true celestial gem. Through a telescope, it explodes into a kaleidoscope of colors, with stars of blue, white, and red, shining like precious stones scattered across a velvet cloth. The Jewel Box cluster is relatively young, only about 10 million years old, a mere blink of an eye in cosmic terms. Its stars are still hot and massive, emitting intense radiation that makes them shine so brightly. The Jewel Box cluster's mix of colors indicates that its stars are at different stages of evolution, giving astronomers a glimpse into the life cycle of stars. As you gaze upon this celestial treasure chest, remember that you're looking back in time. Now let's journey to the constellation of Scorpius the Scorpion. In fact, it's got a hidden treasure tucked away, the M4 star cluster. This cluster, located about 7,200 light-years away, is one of the closest globular clusters to our solar system, making it a prime target for stargazers and astronomers alike. To the naked eye, M4 might look like a faint fuzzy star, but through a telescope it transforms into a dazzling ball of stars, a cosmic dandelion seed. M4 is ancient, folks, really ancient. Astronomers estimate it to be about 13 billion years old, which means it formed just a short while after the Big Bang itself. M4 is home to a diverse population of stars, from red giants on their last legs to white dwarfs, the faint remnants of stars that have long since burned out. Astronomers have even found a few blue stragglers in M4, stars that appear younger than they should be. Now hold on to your hats, folks, as we journey to the constellation of Ophiuchus the Serpent Bearer. This constellation holds a celestial wonder, the M12 star cluster. M12 is another one of those globular clusters, a tightly knit family of stars bound together by gravity's strong embrace. Located about 15,700 light-years away, it's a bit of a challenge to spot with the naked eye, but with a good pair of binoculars or a telescope, it's a sight to behold. Now, what makes M12 special, you ask? Well, for one, it's less densely packed than some of its globular cluster cousins. This looseness gives astronomers a clearer view of the stars within, allowing them to study their properties in greater detail. Another intriguing thing about M12 is that it seems to be missing some low-mass stars. Now let's stay with the constellation of Ophiuchus, the Serpent Bearer. This constellation holds a hidden treasure, the M14 star cluster. It's a globular cluster, a tightly packed ball of stars way out there in the Milky Way. Located about 30,000 light-years away, M14 is a bit of a challenge to spot, even with a telescope. But don't let its faintness fool you, folks. This cluster is home to hundreds of thousands of stars, all bound together by gravity's relentless pull. One of the things that makes M14 so intriguing is that it's relatively metal-poor. This tells us that M14 formed early on in the universe, before generations of stars had time to cook up those heavier elements in their nuclear furnaces. Now let's amble on over to the constellation of Pegasus, the winged horse. This constellation holds a celestial wonder, the M15 star cluster. This one's a globular cluster, a densely packed sphere of stars, huddled together like a swarm of bees around a honeypot. Located about 33,600 light-years away, M15 is a bit of a challenge to spot with the naked eye. You'll need a good pair of binoculars or a small telescope to really appreciate its beauty. One of the things that makes M15 so fascinating is its incredibly dense core. It's so tightly packed, in fact, that astronomers believe it might harbor a black hole at its center, a gravitational monster that's gobbling up anything that gets too close. Now let's mosey on over to the constellation of Cassiopeia, the Queen. You know that W-shaped constellation in the northern sky? Well, tucked away in that celestial throne room is a star cluster that's sure to catch your eye. M52. It's an open cluster, folks. A loose gathering of stars scattered across the cosmos like a handful of diamonds tossed onto black velvet. Located about 5,000 light-years away, M52 is visible with binoculars, but you'll need a telescope to really appreciate its beauty. Through the lens, it'll look like a sparkling cloud of stars, with dozens of bright blue-white stars shining like celestial fireflies. Now, M52 is a relatively young cluster, only about 35 million years old. That's a mere blink of an eye in cosmic terms, folks. It's so young, in fact, that it still contains some of the gas and dust from which its stars formed. Astronomers study M52 to learn more about the process of star formation. You see, by observing clusters like this one, Astronomers can piece together the life cycle of stars, from their fiery birth in clouds of gas and dust to their eventual demise, whether it's fading away as a white dwarf or going out with a bang as a supernova. Now let's slither on over to the constellation of Hydra, the water snake. Hydra is the largest constellation, stretching out like a celestial serpent. Hidden amongst its coils is the M68 star cluster. M68 is a globular cluster, a tightly packed ball of stars. It's about 33,000 light-years away. With binoculars or a telescope, it appears as a faint, fuzzy ball of light. Astronomers reckon it to be about 10 billion years old. M68 might be a remnant of a dwarf galaxy gobbled up by the Milky Way. Now let's set sail for the constellation of Puppis. Now, you might not be familiar with this one, folks, but Puppis, you see, represents the stern of a ship, Argo Navis. It's a faint constellation, but it holds a hidden treasure. The M93 star cluster. This one's an open cluster, a loose collection of stars scattered across the cosmos like a smattering of pearls on black velvet. Located about 3,600 light-years away, M93 is visible with binoculars, but you'll need a telescope to really appreciate its beauty. Through the lens, you'll see a compact group of bright stars, surrounded by a fainter halo of stars. Now, M93 is a relatively young cluster, only about 100 million years old. That might sound like a long time, folks, but in cosmic terms, it's just a blink of an eye. It's so young, in fact, that many of its stars are still surrounded by the gas and dust from which they formed. Astronomers study M93 to learn more about the evolution of stars. You see, by observing clusters like this one, they can see how stars of different masses and temperatures evolve over time. It's like a cosmic time capsule giving us a glimpse into the early lives of stars. Let's saddle up and ride back to Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. We're unearthing the M107 star cluster. M107 is a globular cluster, a tightly knit ball of stars. It's fainter, about 20,900 light-years away, but trust me, it's worth the effort. M107 is an old-timer, about 10 billion years old. It was around when the Milky Way was young. The universe is vast and ancient, filled with stories billions of years old. Let's head over to the constellation of Vela, the Sails. NGC 3201 is a globular cluster, a tightly packed ball of stars. It's about 16,300 light-years away. It'll look like a faint, fuzzy ball of light. What makes NGC 3201 special? It has a split personality. Stars move differently on each side. A hidden black hole warps space-time, pulling on the stars. Now, folks, let's take a trip down south to the constellation of Musca, the Fly. Don't worry, you won't need any bug spray for this trip. This constellation might be small, but it's home to a celestial wonder, the NGC 4833 star cluster. This cluster, located about 7,000 light-years away, is a treat for southern hemisphere stargazers. Now, you'll need a telescope to really appreciate its beauty. It's not visible to the naked eye, but through the lens, it'll look like a sparkling cloud of stars, a sprinkle of sugar on a cosmic donut. NGC 4833 is a globular cluster, a tightly knit family of stars bound together by gravity. It's one of the more than 150 globular clusters that orbit our Milky Way galaxy, like fireflies dancing around a campfire. These clusters are like ancient relics, folks, containing some of the oldest stars in the universe. Now, NGC 4833 might not be as bright or as famous as some of its globular cluster cousins, but it's a sight to behold nonetheless. It's a reminder that the universe is full of hidden treasures just waiting to be discovered. So next time you're under a dark southern sky, point your telescope towards Musca and see if you can spot this celestial gem. Now, are you ready? Hold on to your hats, because we're about to meet the king of the star clusters, Omega Centauri. This ain't just any globular cluster, no sir, no ma'am. This one's a whopper, a cosmic giant that'll knock your socks off. Located about 15,800 light-years away in the constellation of Centaurus, Omega Centauri is visible to the naked eye as a fuzzy star. But through a telescope, folks, it transforms into a breathtaking spectacle. A massive ball of stars, millions strong, all swirling around each other in a cosmic ballet. Now, Omega Centauri is so big and bright that it was once thought to be a star itself. It wasn't until the 17th century that astronomers realized it was actually a cluster of stars. And what a cluster it is. It's estimated to be about 12 billion years old, which means it formed when the universe was just a wee babe. Astronomers believe that Omega Centauri might be the core of a dwarf galaxy that was torn apart and cannibalized by our own Milky Way billions of years ago. It's a cosmic horror story, folks, but with a beautiful ending. Because now, we get to marvel at this celestial survivor, a testament to the power and beauty of the universe. Now, folks, let's journey to a star cluster that's captured the human imagination for millennia, the Pleiades, also known as the Seven Sisters. This open cluster, located about 444 light-years away in the constellation of Taurus, the Bull, is a site that's inspired poets, storytellers, and stargazers for ages. Visible to the naked eye as a shimmering cluster of blue-white stars, the Pleiades is a celestial jewel box, scattered across the heavens like diamonds on black velvet. On a clear, dark night, you can spot 6 or 7 stars with the naked eye, but with binoculars or a telescope, hundreds more twinkle into view. Now, the Pleiades has been known since ancient times, with cultures around the world weaving stories and myths around these celestial sisters. The Greeks saw them as the 7 daughters of Atlas, condemned to wander the heavens for eternity. The Japanese called them Subaru, which means to unite or to gather together. Through a telescope, you can see why the Pleiades has captivated stargazers for centuries. The cluster's stars are young, hot, and massive, burning brightly with a blue-white light. And here's something even more incredible, folks. The Pleiades is surrounded by a faint blue nebulosity, a cloud of gas and dust illuminated by the cluster's bright stars. It's like a celestial veil, adding to the cluster's ethereal beauty. Well, folks, we've journeyed far and wide across the cosmos today, from the Southern Cross to the Winged Horse, exploring some of the most awe-inspiring star clusters visible from Earth. We've seen clusters so young, they're still surrounded by the gas and dust from which they formed, and clusters so old, they were around when the universe itself was just a whippersnapper. We've marveled at the dazzling beauty of open clusters like the Pleiades and the Jewel Box, their stars scattered across the heavens like diamonds on black velvet. We've peered into the hearts of dense globular clusters like Omega Centauri and 47 Tucanae. They're millions of stars locked in a cosmic dance for billions of years. And we've learned that these star clusters ain't just pretty sights, folks. They're cosmic laboratories, giving astronomers clues about the life and death of stars, the evolution of galaxies, and the very nature of the universe itself. By studying these stellar gatherings, we gain a deeper understanding of our place in the grand scheme of things. We see that we're connected to these distant stars, that we're all made from the same stardust, forged in the fiery hearts of long-dead stars. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, that's mighty impressive, Crixus, but I don't have a fancy telescope. I can't see all that stuff. And you know what, folks? That's perfectly all right, because you can still enjoy the beauty of the night sky with just your naked eye. Just step outside on a clear night, away from the city lights, and look up. Let your eyes wander among the stars and see what wonders you can find. You might be surprised at what you discover. And who knows, folks, maybe one day you'll be inspired to get a telescope of your own and delve even deeper into the mysteries of the cosmos. From this small channel, I want to thank y'all for helping us reach 1,000 subscribers. It means the world to me that so many of y'all are interested in learning about the universe we live in. Keep looking up and never stop exploring. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.